Well, hey there, Hastings residents, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled to be your host today as we unpack your latest daily digest directly from HastingsNow.com. We're zeroing in on today, Friday, August 7th, 2026. Now, if you're a regular, you know our goal here is to give you the most direct, focused, and honestly fascinating breakdown of exactly what you need to know today. We're going to kick things off with a highly practical look at our local skies, breaking down a pretty dynamic weather forecast that you'll absolutely want to plan around. But definitely stick around, because after we cover the weather, we're transitioning into this incredibly cool journey through this exact date in history. We've got an August 7th time capsule that literally spans centuries. So let's just dive right into it. Right off the bat, we're looking at a peak temperature of 83 degrees today. So it's going to feel like your classic warm August day right here in Hastings. Now, looking at your schedule for this Friday, the morning is absolutely your best friend. Those early hours are offering this really beautiful, quiet weather window. It's the perfect time to knock out those outdoor errands, maybe do some yard work, or honestly, just take a really pleasant, peaceful walk right along the Mississippi River. The temperatures are going to be steadily climbing, sure, but the skies will be so much calmer before the afternoon shift. And this data right here brilliantly illustrates exactly why you want to take advantage of that morning calm. So we've got that high of 83 degrees, but notice how the low drops all the way down to a really crisp 58 degrees overnight. That is a pretty significant swing, but the real focus for us is right in the middle of the day. We're tracking a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and those are primarily concentrated right between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Our winds will start off pretty gentle, coming from the south at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, but they're going to shift and start blowing out of the west as the afternoon progresses. Now, the thing you really need to keep on your radar, literally, is the storm outlook. The National Weather Service actually issued a hazardous weather outlook for our area. So what does this mean for you? Well, as a cold front moves in this afternoon, scattered storms are expected to pop up ahead of it. And while, it's only a 30% chance of rain, a few of those storms that do manage to develop could become strong enough to produce damaging wind gusts or even large hail. Now, it's important to remember this isn't an official warning or watch just yet. It's just an outlook. It's basically the meteorologist giving us a friendly heads up that all the ingredients are right there for some rougher weather. So the absolutely crucial point is how we actually prepare for a day with a split personality like this. You'll definitely want lightweight summer clothes for the bulk of the day to handle that 83-degree warmth, but you absolutely need to keep a rain shell or an umbrella handy, especially if you're going to be out and about during that 1 to 4 p.m. window. Because of that storm outlook, you really want to keep your afternoon plans somewhat flexible. If a thunderstorm decides to pop up, you'll want to be able to pivot indoors pretty quickly. And finally, don't forget that it's going to cool down a lot tonight. By the time the evening rolls around and the skies clear up, we're heading toward the upper 50s. A light layer or a cozy sweater is going to feel really, really good if you're sitting out on the patio tonight. Okay, before we pivot away from the forecast, I have to share today's HastingsNow.com weather joke. The clouds over Hastings have a 30% chance of dropping by Friday afternoon. Apparently, even thunderstorms keep tentative summer plans at Levy Park. I love that. It's a great little reminder that summer weather can be just as non-committal as our weekend plans. Just a fun, lighthearted palate cleanser as we transition from our super practical local forecast to something a bit more sweeping. So let's shift gears completely and open up our August 7th time capsule. We're moving from Hastings weather to global history, tracing 3 incredible leaps of faith that all happened on this exact day across the centuries. We'll be making stops in 1679, 1782, and 1974. And what's wild is that each of these events involves people stepping right into the unknown, whether that meant onto uncharted waters, into a brand new era of military recognition, or literally onto a wire suspended above the clouds. Section 1, 1679, a maritime mystery. The sheer scale of this historical mystery is just incredible. So on this day back in 1679, the French explorer René Robert Cavelier Sieur de la Salle, along with his expedition, sailed a ship called Le Griffon. They departed from the Niagara River, sailing boldly into Lake Erie, and they had their sights set firmly on Lake Michigan and Green Bay. Now, according to Northern Michigan University's Biomir UP Heritage Center, Le Griffon holds this incredible title. It was the very first sailing vessel on the Upper Great Lakes. It represented this massive leap forward in navigation and trade for the entire region. But the real story isn't just that it sailed, it's what happened next. Because sometime after this totally historic launch, the ship just vanished, completely disappeared without a single trace. No wreckage, no survivors. Over 300 years later, and the fate of Le Griffon remains one of the Great Lakes' most enduring and captivating maritime mysteries. Like, where did it go? Section 2, 1782. Honoring the brave. Now, jumping ahead to August 7th, 1782, George Washington created what was called the Badge of Military Merit. At the time, military honors were almost exclusively reserved for high-ranking officers. But Washington, he wanted to recognize the everyday, regular soldiers and non-commissioned officers. He designed this specific badge to reward unusual gallantry, extraordinary fidelity, or essential service during the Revolutionary War. And, as the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs points out, this badge is the direct origin of today's Purple Heart that actually makes it the nation's oldest military decoration. While the original badge kind of faded from use after the Revolution, it was brilliantly revived in 1932 as the modern Purple Heart that we all recognize today. It's such a profound reminder of how a single decision made on an August day in 1782 created this massive, lasting legacy for honoring bravery in our country. Section 3. 1974. The Sky High Stroll. 1,350 feet. Just take a second and try to process that number. That is a quarter of a mile straight up in the air. On this day in 1974, a 24-year-old French high-wire artist named Philippe Petit took a step out onto a steel cable. But this wasn't just any cable. He and his friends had secretly and highly illegally rigged this wire in the dead of night, stretching it all the way across the void between the newly constructed Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Stepping off the edge of the South Tower, with literally nothing but a balancing pole and the bustling streets of Manhattan 1,350 feet below him, Petit actually began to walk. And as detailed by the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, this wasn't just a quick, terrifying dash across to say he did it. Oh no, it was a true performance. For 45 breathtaking minutes, Petit stayed out there on the wire. He made 8 full passes back and forth between the two massive towers. He walked, he ran, he danced, he even knelt down and saluted the sky. Down below him, traffic totally ground to a halt as this massive crowd gathered, staring up in just absolute disbelief. He was eventually arrested the very second he stepped off the wire, but that unauthorized feat instantly made him an international legend. He became this ultimate symbol of audacious, sky-high bravery. So we've covered vanishing pioneer ships in the Great Lakes, the birth of our oldest military honor during a revolution, and a man dancing on a wire above the clouds. History, as it turns out, is wildly unpredictable. You just never quite know what leap of faith is going to write the very next chapter. And, in a very local way, that ties right back to our Hastings skies today. Unpredictable history, unpredictable skies. Summer weather here in Minnesota can turn on an absolute dime. A beautifully quiet morning can so easily give way to those sudden, intense afternoon thunderstorms, pushing ahead of a cold front. So as we wrap up today's explainer, please remember to check the radar before you head out this afternoon. Keep those plans flexible between 1 and 4 p.m., pack that rain shell, and absolutely enjoy the beautiful, crisp 58-degree weather that follows tonight. But as you watch those unpredictable Hastings skies today, maybe think about those who stepped into the unknown on this very date, into uncharted lakes, into new honors, and onto a tiny wire way above the clouds. When the winds shift in your own life today, what leap of faith will you be ready to take? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into today's HastingsNow.com digest. Stay safe out there, stay curious, and I will see you for the next one.